In the year 117 AD, the Roman Empire stretched from the cold mists of northern Britain to the burning sands of Mesopotamia. It controlled the Mediterranean as if it were a private lake. Its roads connected 60 million people under a single law. Its language would shape half of Europe's tongues. Its religion would become the faith of 2 billion people. And yet, by the year 476, the city of Rome itself had been sacked 3 times. Its emperor was a teenage boy. The Western Empire ended not with a battle, but with a quiet handover of a crown. This is the entire history of the Roman Empire. Rome's story begins as legend. According to myth, in 753 BC, the twin brothers Romulus and Remus, suckled by a she-wolf, founded a city on the banks of the Tiber. Romulus killed Remus over a quarrel about its walls. The city took his name. For its first 2.5 centuries, Rome was a kingdom ruled by 7 kings, the last of them an Etruscan tyrant named Tarquin the Proud. In 509 BC, the Romans expelled him and swore never to be ruled by a king again. They built a republic. The republic was a system of careful balance. 2 consuls ruled jointly, each for a single year. A senate of aristocrats advised the assemblies of citizens passed laws. Power was divided so that no man could ever rule alone. For 4 centuries, this republic conquered. It defeated its Italian neighbors, then turned its eyes outward. 3 brutal wars against the North African city of Carthage, the Punic Wars, gave Rome control of the western Mediterranean. The general Hannibal famously crossed the Alps with elephants and ravaged Italy for 15 years, but Rome ground him down. By 146 BC, Carthage was burned to the ground and Greece was under Roman rule. But conquest brought wealth, and wealth corroded the republic. The countryside emptied as small farmers were drafted into endless wars. Slave-worked estates replaced them. Politicians bought votes. Generals bought loyalty. The system began to break. In 49 BC, a brilliant, ambitious general named Julius Caesar, fresh from conquering Gaul, modern-day France, refused an order from the Senate to disband his army. Instead, he marched it across a small river called the Rubicon into Italy itself. It was a declaration of civil war. Caesar won. He made himself dictator for life. He reformed the calendar. He pardoned his enemies, and on the Ides of March 44 BC, those enemies stabbed him to death on the Senate floor. The Republic did not survive him. Caesar's heir was his great-nephew, an 18-year-old boy named Octavian. Few took him seriously. They were wrong. After 13 years of civil war, including the famous defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, Octavian stood as the only man left standing. In 27 BC, the Senate gave him a new name, Augustus, the revered one. Augustus was careful. He never called himself king or emperor. He preserved the forms of the Republic. The Senate still met. Consuls still served, but every real power flowed through him. He was, in his own words, merely the first citizen. In truth, he was the first emperor. His reign lasted 41 years and brought the Roman world its longest period of peace, the Pax Romana. He rebuilt Rome in marble. He fixed the borders along the Rhine and Danube. He famously claimed Egypt for the empire after Cleopatra's death. Only one defeat haunted him. In 9 AD, 3 Roman legions were ambushed and annihilated in the Teutoburg forest in Germany. Augustus reportedly wandered his palace at night, calling out, "Varus, give me back my legions." He never tried to conquer Germany again. When Augustus died in 14 AD, the empire passed smoothly to his stepson Tiberius. The system worked. But Tiberius was followed by the unstable Caligula, who was murdered after 4 years. Then came the limping, stuttering Claudius, dismissed as a fool, but who actually conquered Britain in 43 AD and ruled competently for 13 years. Then came Nero. Nero was 16 when he took the throne. By the end, he had murdered his mother, his wife, and likely his stepbrother. In 64 AD, a great fire burned much of Rome. Nero blamed the small new sect called Christians and crucified them in his gardens. 4 years later, faced with rebellion, he killed himself, reportedly weeping, "What an artist dies in me." His death triggered chaos. The year of the 4 emperors, 69 AD, saw 4 men claim the throne in a single calendar year. The fourth, a tough old general named Vespasian, finally restored order and founded a new dynasty, the Flavians. Vespasian's son Titus completed the Colosseum. His other son, Domitian, ruled with iron paranoia until he was assassinated in 96 AD. The Senate then made a remarkable choice. Tired of dynastic chaos, the Senate appointed an elderly senator named Nerva, with one condition, that he adopt his successor based on merit, not blood. For the next 85 years, this system gave Rome the 5 good emperors. Trajan, a Spaniard, expanded the empire to its greatest extent. He conquered Dacia, modern Romania, and pushed deep into Mesopotamia. By 117 AD, Rome ruled 5 million square kilometers and 60 million souls. Hadrian chose consolidation over expansion. He visited every province personally, walked Britain's frontier, and built a wall across its narrowest point, 73 miles of stone still partly standing today. Antoninus Pius ruled 23 peaceful years. Almost nothing happened in his reign. It was, by Roman standards, a golden age. And finally, Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, ruled from 161 to 180 AD. He fought endless wars on the Danube against Germanic tribes. He wrote, in private journals never meant for publication, a book of Stoic meditations that is still read today. But during his reign, returning soldiers brought back something else from the east, a plague, likely smallpox, that killed perhaps 5 million people across the empire. The cracks were beginning to show. Marcus Aurelius made one terrible mistake. He broke the tradition of merit-based succession and named his own son, Commodus, as heir. Commodus dressed as Hercules, fought as a gladiator in the arena, and was strangled in his bath in 192 AD by a wrestler hired by his own court. The Golden Age was over. What followed was a 50-year nightmare. Between 235 and 284 AD, Rome had over 50 emperors. Almost none died of natural causes. They were murdered by their own soldiers, killed in battle, or executed by rivals. The empire fractured. Gaul broke off as its own breakaway empire. The wealthy province of Palmyra in Syria did the same under its warrior queen Zenobia. Persian armies invaded from the east and captured the Emperor Valerian alive, the first Roman emperor ever taken prisoner. He died in captivity, reportedly used as a footstool by the Persian king. Plague returned. Inflation devoured the currency. Cities shrank behind hastily built walls, and then, in 284, a tough soldier from the Balkans named Diocletian seized the throne. He saw that the empire had grown too vast for one man to rule. So he split it. He ruled the east. A co-emperor ruled the west. Each had a junior emperor beneath him. He called this system the Tetrarchy, the rule of 4. He stabilized the borders. He reformed the army, the currency, and the bureaucracy. He launched the most savage persecution of Christians in Roman history. And then, exhausted, he did something unprecedented. He abdicated. he retired to a palace on the coast of modern-day Croatia to grow cabbages. The Tetrarchy collapsed almost immediately into civil war. In 312 AD, two rival emperors marched on Rome. One of them, Constantine, claimed to have seen a vision the night before battle, a cross of light in the sky and the words, "In hoc signo vinces," in this sign you will conquer. The next day, at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, his men painted the Christian symbol on their shields. Constantine won. He took Rome. In 313, he issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity throughout the empire. In 325, he convened the Council of Nicaea, where Christian bishops hammered out the core of their creed. In 330, he founded a new capital on the Bosporus, the strait between Europe and Asia, and named it after himself, Constantinople. It was the most fortified city ever built. Triple walls, sea defenses, a position controlling all trade between Europe and Asia. It would survive for over 1,000 years. Constantine died in 337, baptized on his deathbed. Within 60 years, his successor Theodosius the Great would make Christianity not merely legal, but the official religion of the Roman state. The old gods of Jupiter and Mars were declared illegal. The Olympic Games were abolished. The temples emptied. When Theodosius died in 395, he split the empire one final time between his two sons. The East, ruled from Constantinople, was wealthy, populous, defensible. The West, ruled from Ravenna, was poorer, thinner, and exposed. The two halves would never be reunited. The Western Empire's final century is a story of slow strangulation. Pressed by climate change and the terrifying advance of the Huns from Central Asia, entire Germanic peoples crashed across the Rhine and Danube: Visigoths, Vandals, Ostrogoths, Franks, Burgundians. Rome, increasingly, did not have the army to stop them, so it hired them. Germanic mercenaries became the backbone of the Roman military. Their generals became the real power behind the throne. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. A Visigothic king named Alaric, frustrated by Roman politics, marched on Rome itself. The city had not been sacked in 800 years. He breached the Salarian Gate. For 3 days, his army plundered the Eternal City. The shock rippled across the world. The scholar St. Jerome, hearing the news in Bethlehem, wept and wrote, "The city which had taken the whole world was itself taken." In 452, Attila the Hun invaded Italy. He was reportedly turned back from Rome only by a personal meeting with Pope Leo I, though some historians suspect plague and supply problems played a larger role. In 455, the Vandals sailed up from North Africa and sacked Rome again, more thoroughly this time, looting for 2 full weeks. The last Western Roman emperors became puppets, lasting months at a time. In 476, a Germanic general named Odoacer quietly deposed the final one. A teenage boy with the painfully ironic name Romulus Augustulus, he sent the imperial regalia back to Constantinople, declared himself king of Italy, and that, traditionally, is where the Roman Empire is said to fall. But it had not fallen, really. Half of it was still standing. In Constantinople, the Eastern Empire, what historians later called the Byzantine Empire, though the Byzantines always called themselves Romans, endured. In the 6th century, the Emperor Justinian launched a stunning reconquest. His general Belisarius retook North Africa from the Vandals, Italy from the Ostrogoths, and parts of Spain from the Visigoths. Justinian codified Roman law into the Corpus Juris Civilis, which would shape European legal systems for the next 1,500 years. He built the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, for nearly 1,000 years, the largest cathedral in the world. but the reconquest exhausted the empire. Plague struck. The Eastern Empire was driven back. Then, in the 7th century, a new force erupted from Arabia, the armies of Islam, and tore away 2/3 of Byzantium's territory in a single generation. For the next 800 years, the Byzantines fought a long, slow retreat. They survived sieges, civil wars, the Crusades, and the catastrophe of 1204, when Western European crusaders sacked Constantinople itself. The end came in 1453. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, with massive cannon, breached the walls that had stood since Constantine. The last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI, died fighting in the streets, his body never identified. After 2,206 years from the founding of the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, in any form, was finally gone. But Rome had embedded itself too deeply in the world to ever truly disappear. Its language, Latin, became Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian, and gave English half of its vocabulary. Its alphabet is the one you are reading now. Its laws underpin most of European civil law. Its calendar, slightly corrected, is the one we still use. Its religion, Christianity, became the largest faith on earth. Its capital city, Constantinople, became Istanbul. But its eagle survived as the symbol of Russia, of Germany, of America. Charlemagne, the Tsars, the Kaisers, the Holy Roman Emperors, even Napoleon, all claimed to be Rome's true heirs. Its roads, in many places, are still the roads. Its walls, in places like London and York, still stand. Its name, Roma, still echoes in every language that touches the Mediterranean. The Roman Empire fell. But in some quiet, stubborn way, it never quite ended.